global oracle, a work of prophetic science. Bees arise in stellar, solar and lunar myths. The Hindu moon, Madhukara, the honey giver. The Kalahari bushman whose honey is moon water. Moon Artemis, with their retinue of bee eunuch drones and bee nymphs. Zeus Essenos, the great bee king on Mount Olympus, fed as a child by cave-dwelling bees. Superstitions and observations form our store of founding facts. Homer's bees were swarms of soldiers mustering from ships and huts to the calls of returning scouts delivering the buzz of rumour to the throng on the sand. The temple at Delphi was bird and bee built of wax and feathers near the gold-roofed cave of the bee nymphs who tutored Apollo in knucklebones and the pebble-tossing arts. Bee behaviour and physiology were studied by Columella, Palladius, Pliny, Aristotle, Cato, Varro, Virgil, Aristomachus and Theophrastus. Bees are born of flowers. Honey comes from reeds and the liquid air, where it falls upon plants. The bee gathers honey where it settles, along branches and over the earth, especially around the ash. Bees are messengers. Bees are oracular, foretelling the weather. Bees are atoms of delight, analogue to the stars. Bees discourse the language of immensities. Bees will wing us, guided by the daughters of the sun, along trajectories only open to the thinking man. To the Greeks, honey was astron. To the Romans, saliva siderum, star-fallen. An ethereal fair engendered in the air. At star-rise, especially when Sirius shines, the honey falls from the skies as star-spittle and dews the leaves of dawn. The bee is veil-winged. The bee is a soul made visible, a Chthonian envoy, toing and froing from the chambers of the lower earth. A man may follow their flight through clefts, bowls, burrows, and dark hollows, or he may be wrenched in after them into the mantic chasm of the underworld. Our own spiral of light, no less than the bees, has been kindled for no other purpose save that of amusing the darkness. Bees become flowers, flowers become bees. Habits engender harmonies. Bees need flowers for nourishment. Flowers need bees for reproduction. Flowers and bees agree. Timing is everything. The bee is a clock whose dial measures the day and records moments of plenty. The bee remembers any point within a day in its body exactly. The bee is unable to count beyond that day. The bee is ephemeros. Bees labour in common. Bees share a love for what lies ahead of them. Bees desire to live forever in those that come after them. Bees are the souls of summer. The god of the bees is the future. All life orients to the light from which life comes. Bee dances orient to the sun. If it's dark, then the bees will dance to a candle flame. Their waggle dance reenacts time and space. Bees spot the sun using their honeycomb as map hexes and compass, from which the dancers transmit the flower source's direction to other dancers. They encode flight and give an accurate angle of sunlight. Honey was a blessing, sweetening the barley cakes. Honey was an offering, entheogen, gifting the propulsive buzz that incited sacred visions. Whether the oracle derived from bees or nymphs, honey must be offered to receive a favourable response. Fueled on honey, the bee women fly from home, rising through space, sailing in shadows, tipping their membranous wings towards the comb of the pulsating sun. They are the axis of all that passes. Sweetness inspires them to realise truth. Prophecy is binary. The seeker must inquire, how will the fates view this act? Prophecy is a question. It dramatises one of two choices. Which of these courses will rightly navigate the domains of which knowledge can have no estimate? Prophecy is intelligence. Divination reframes patterned realities and repeating memories, symbolically fusing the past with the synchronous cosmic return of the still to come. Prophecy is code. Whether whispered, thrown or drawn, the oracle is open to interpretation. In the same manner, today's scientific theories are pictured as a series of prophetic dilemmas. Delphi. On the braes of Parnassus, the heart and hearth of Greece straddles a fissure in the earth. Here the temple was overseen by a bee priestess enthroned on a burnished tripod. Here the stone omphalos, hollow as a skep or bell, was supposed to allow the oracle to swallow an infusion of noxious hallucinogenic fumes. This temple belonged to night and moon. The original omphalos stone was stellar born, carved from the remains of a meteorite. Its crosswork pattern delineated an infinite network, fretted with resemblances to the swift bee wings of the honey priestess. Intoxicated on mellichloron, they spoke in tongues. The shrill nymphs hummed and swarmed in huddled confusion, green honey glistening on their lips Listen as they cast the stone. 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 We wonder at the bee's ability to communicate. We observe the hive, which seems in turn to survey us from another world, as if the inhabitants of Venus gazed down upon us, so many scurrying specks, as if we were to be read as bees. Nowadays we accept bees do not move in the same world as us. Contemporary science itemizes the algorithms of bee colonies and translates the spirit of the hive into instinct. Reasoned analysis predicts the collapse of their cooperative societies is imminent. We share the bees' disastrous forecast. Space preserves the indelible trace of the bee's graven print as a capsule of light. But what of prophecy now and the madness of honey? When and how do we go beyond what we know? Who is the seer? Who is the stranger adrift in the house? Whose head beats against the window pane? Whose wordless hum sets up a reverberation through the cave of the infinite cosmos? Ours is the oracle that sets off a buzz in our pocket. Ours is the speaker who prophesizes, instructing our movements in a monotonous voice from the dashboard. Ours, the antenna that dips in the data stream for reassurance. Our oracles broadcast from arboreal masts hung with a rich cluster of antennae. Through that first darkness, which is always with us, to the distant vessels that turn in strict circles, like the loyal geese that are said to wheel around and around the lost Atlantis. Satellites tune us to the honeydew of invisible signals. They deliver the influx of information, sky-fallen words, and the rush of ceaseless communication. They foretell indexed fortunes, meteorological patterns, compute shipping routes and the price of rice, predict our wants as downloads and tabs. They penetrate everywhere and extend everything wherever a mast or dish interrupts the horizon. Just as the bees change their flight path with each new tree that comes into bloom, so the Navstars blink, blink, blink in connective silence, swimming the eccentric lines of their birdcage orbits. The vespertino vessels hide and reveal themselves as they reveal and hide the globe's surface. They weave nets, they name the planets, and unpick the constellations into infinite numbers. They make vivid Ficino's thought that life is star-sown and the soul descends from the spheres. Nowadays, the temple at Delphi is twinned with Shriver Air Force Base, Colorado. There, one signal is designated for civilian use. A more accurate encryption, controlled by the US military, is for the masters of truth. Rockets propel us so far beyond ourselves to spy the planet through a vacuum and plot the globe with constant precision. Satellites triangulate the mesh of optimal positions by ephemeris and the continuous recalculations of atomic clocks. They beam back their blanket of signals over the entire disk of the listening Earth. The 12 helical antennae broadcast a cosmic signal band in a broad cone. They modulate the digits of mass communication, a cipher tide of binary code. This oracle is a complex instrument, enforcing a totalizing knowledge, an earthly truth that we may access, not by right, only as a privilege. Oracle, Arizona, January 2014. Honeyed rays reach in between the rocks, making shadows of their faults. Sheen manzanita bend red ochre branches, hung with pinkish inflorescence. Pouting flowers gather repeated bees, songs and signs of the never the same drone of the sun. Desert stars are sharpest, console of correspondences, the list of Orion foremost. A bead of light sails on, spacing our celestial rhythm in an enclosing ring.